What up, everybody? It's Dan TERZO, and we're back here with another episode of the HorrorCast, and I have my next guest on this episode, my dear friend, probably my dearest friend in this hobby, one of my top dearest friends, Robert Terrell, aka Anomaley682. Say what up, Rob?
Hey, what's up, guys? What up, Dan TERZO?
Still can't say my last name.
TERZO.
There you go. It's just like Chris. It's like Chris Parmesan cheese, and now I'm TERZO.
Yeah. Just rolled off the tongue nicely.
That's what it is, dude. But no, I wanted to thank you for coming on and being the next episode. I know we were talking, we wanted to do an episode, and we had some things we wanted to discuss. So I kind of want to take it off like a Band-Aid, just rip it right off. Let's kind of get into it. What was one of the biggest topics that we were talking about a few days ago that we really wanted to get into about this custom hobby?
Well, I don't know, man. Every once in a blue moon, I have conversations with fellow collectors in the hobby, sometimes veteran, non-veterans, OGs, whatever. And I was having a conversation with this particular collector. He's not too active in the hobby, but he purchases things here and there. He knows who he is, and we were basically talking about the concept of art versus collecting for the character, and it got me thinking. And so I guess one of the things that was bothering me with that conversation is that this particular collector was telling me that just because he didn't see the film, it wasn't even that he didn't like the film necessarily. It was just because he didn't see the film that there was I think we were talking about the Hobo Myers, for instance. Like, let's be honest, okay? I'm a Rob Zombie fan, all right? I know the movies aren't written that great, especially the second movie. But the look of Myers in that movie is absolutely phenomenal. And if you're a Myers fan, in my opinion, whether you like the movies or not, you're probably going to want those Myers. At least I know I do. So if this person was telling me that he didn't like he liked the Hobo Myers, but he would never collect it because the movies, I think he said, were AKA trash. And it just got me thinking. And I guess the main thing to answer your question that I brought up to his attention is I was like, well, I think sometimes people use that as a scapegoat. I think sometimes people will say that they don't want a particular character or a piece and use the movie reference just because they either can't afford it for whatever reason or they don't have access to it, whatever. Something along those lines there.
So let me clear it up a little bit. So essentially the topic that's in hand is what we're saying, like you explained. Sometimes people bring, collecting-wise, collect either specifically for artistic purposes, or they collect specifically for nostalgic purposes, or in your case, sometimes people use that excuse, the nostalgic purpose, to avoid a buy and kind of use it against people in conversations, right?
Yes. Well, I'll add to that, though. I'll definitely add to that. I mean, the way I basically look at it is that you have basically two different type of collectors, essentially, maybe even three. You have one collector like myself. I collect, or at least the way I look at it, I collect not only for the art specifically, and we'll get into what all that means in a little bit. I collect for the art, I collect for nostalgia, and I collect for the character. So nostalgia and character can essentially be combined, you know what I'm saying? And some people, they just collect for the character, so the art aspect doesn't matter. So these are the people that buy the mass produced pieces, or they're not too particular or anal about how the figure itself looks from an artistic standpoint in terms of its quality. As long as they just have it, they have it. So there's a layer to it in that sense. And then again, what you just said, I think there's some people that will, I think, use the excuse as they don't like the movie, so therefore they won't buy the character, even though they like it and they think it's amazing and all that. And I think with some collectors, maybe such as maybe like yourself and a few other OGs and maybe a couple other people in the hobby that I know that holds true to, but I do think that some people use that as an excuse because they can't get access to the figure. And sometimes it just annoys me, that's all.
Well, this conversation can go in so many different ways. Actually, no, just the whole topic, because this is my input on it. I am a nostalgic collector. I've told you that. But at the same time, I have collected for the art purpose as well. So I understand both sides of it. I understand either sides of it. And, you know, everybody collects for whatever they collect. I've ran into people that have used the nostalgic thing as an excuse. Now, there's also one thing that I am, which is, I'm sure other people are. People collect not only art or nostalgia, but well, actually, it goes by art, by artist itself. You know, I collect an artist that I love, but, you know, sometimes his stuff isn't super accurate, or sometimes, you know, it's not lifelike. But I still collect it because I find it to be, I love his art perspective. I love the way it looks, everything that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different layers to it. And, you know, you probably thought that I would go a completely different direction, but I do agree with you that I've heard people use an excuse because, let's face it, when you start getting into this hobby, a lot of people don't realize when you first get into this hobby, there's a lot of, it's a dick competition, a dick measuring competition. A lot of people, oh, look at what I got. Look at what I got here. Look, oh, I just bought this new piece. It's just
right.
And sometimes people take it for the wrong reasons. I mean, obviously, you're going to show off a new piece because you love it, but sometimes people do it for different reasons that I could care less for. I, you know, love the art perspective as well as the nostalgic. I look for pieces that have it all together. So let's say this. Let's say I have a Part 7 Jason.
Right.
And I will not collect it if it doesn't have the art and the taste and the lifelike factor. Like, what do we mean by art? The quality, you know, the collective factor, you know, sure, we'll even say high price points. So look, there are figures that are collected, that are mass-produced, that are low price points. Like, I'm all over the place. But for a certain style, like super nostalgic stuff for me, I need every checkpoint to be hit. I need to feel like I got the whole package if I'm going to spend that amount of money on there. So that's also another perspective into it, where it's got to be all encompassed in one for me. So if there's a piece that I like that a person put out, but it doesn't hit all the check marks, just because I'm a nostalgic collector, I will not grab it. It has to hit the art perspective as well. And, you know, it's a tough situation. I get some people come into the hobby, and a lot of people, when they come into the hobby, they're mostly just artist buyers. Sometimes they come into a hobby, they see the hobby, and they're like, oh, these things look lifelike, these are amazing. Sometimes people get into this hobby, and they're like, well, I'm just going to collect straight Rain Man stuff because that's the first amazing name that you hear. People need to go through the steps of buying stuff, then they'll sell stuff, then they'll figure out what they really want and how it is. Like, I was the same way. I got into it. I got in on certain hypes of people and all that, and then I was just like, now I know what I want. Now this is the collection I want. And that's where I turned from essentially just buying the whole package. That's what it means to me. Every check mark has to get hit for me to feel comfortable in spending. Like, Rob, you know me, I've spent $10,000 on a figure. I'm just gonna say it out there. And
honestly, Dan, I don't know anyone in this hobby, old G or new G, that has spent as much money on single figures and figures just in a single year as you have. The only other person that I can probably think of realistically is probably Andrea Pagnini. I'm sorry, Pagani, if I'm saying his name wrong. Shout out.
No, I appreciate that, man. It's just, and a lot of people look at it as like, oh, no, you're showing off. No, I seriously do it because I love everything about it. Now, also another thing where I could say, I also love it for the art because, you know, I make figures on top of it, you know, people.
Right.
So there's so
that's an interesting dynamic.
Right.
It's definitely an interesting dynamic when you're in the art itself and you're collecting the art.
I think the best thing for us to do is just guide people into what they want, but also people need to know what they want. You know, they can't just always go what everybody says, you know, just because it's not a big artist or it's not an artist that's well known. I still give the artist a chance if it looks like it's going to be some type of quality or something that I want. It just looks good. I don't need that big name artist sometimes. As long as it hits all the nostalgic, it looks quality, I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so there's a couple points I want to highlight. As you're speaking, I'm writing some stuff down just to keep my thoughts. But simple question. Let's say Pumpkinhead, which is a character that I think looks pretty cool, or even like a Pinhead 1/6.
You know me and Pinhead. We I'm trying to bring that to the hobby.
Right. So I guess a question to you, and maybe some of the viewers that are listening to this podcast, would you ask yourself, would you purchase any, whether it's a horror piece or whether it's a non-horror piece, would you purchase it if you're a serious collector? You're not necessarily a noob, but you could be a noob as well. If you haven't seen the movie, but you just simply like how the piece looks from a presentation aspect, an art presentation, all that stuff.
Now, I actually can answer because I have done it before. I have bought in pieces just for the art factor. You know what's funny? Actually, I bought in pieces just for the way they look, and then it turns me, like, I love the piece so much, it makes me go see the movie, and I fall in love with the movie probably harder than I would have if I saw the movie before I bought the figure.
Right, right.
If I can think of a figure, I'm looking for figures. Oh, perfect. All right, so I just got a custom Alice in Wonderland Johnny Depp figure that I just sent the head to be fully customized, rehaired because I had sculpted hair and all that. And I never saw the movie, the remake. I saw the original, the cartoon, but I never saw the new one that came out in 2010, and then there was a sequel, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Now, I bought the figure because I had a conversation with an artist, and he told me, look, there's this, and it looks amazing if we can do this with it, whatever. And I never seen the movie, but I loved the aesthetic of it. And plus, Johnny Depp is one of my favorite actors. We'll just say that.
Right, right.
So I bought the figure, and then I watched the movie literally the day after. Now, obviously, at certain times in Custom World, you kind of have to buy the figure on the fly because sometimes it won't last. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like first come, first serve. You're not guaranteed to have it there if it's still in 10 minutes. You kind of have to jump on the spark. And then I saw the movie, and then I saw the movie. I loved the movie. And the fact that I had the figure coming, it hyped me up to love the movie even more, to even deeper analyze it, to find every little bit of appreciation. Because then when I get the figure, I can be like, oh, I get this part of the clothing's here, this and that. I pay more attention. So I've done it before. And this was actually really recently, probably 3 weeks ago. So that's definitely one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what's up, and I've done the same. I'm looking at my collection right now as we speak. Believe it or not, I haven't seen The Mask fully to this day. I've seen it in bits and pieces.
Which I'm not gonna lie, is a crazy statement out of all the movie. God damn.
I know. I'm not this movie girl that everyone thinks I am. I'm one of those collectors. And I'm going to hit on a couple of topics in a minute that I wrote down just so the viewers can have an understanding of what some of these terms mean, that people that are new to the hobby in terms of art perspective, what that means to me, and some of the reasons why I arrived to that conclusion with this, with the excuses, because it's not just a random thought. There's a lot of thought that went into what I said. But going back to what we initially talked about, I would say The Mask, which I spent almost $3,000 on. Person knows who that is. Darkman. Cool looking piece. Never fucking seen the movie.
You're welcome.
Never seen it. I haven't seen The Burning Cropsey.
You should watch The Burning. That I think you truly enjoy it. It's such a Friday the 13th ripoff that it's so good.
Right. So I definitely plan on seeing it. Even the Elephant Man, I think I had purchased that before I saw the movie, or just before, and I love the movie. It's actually a really sad movie. I know me and you have talked about that. So, but going back to some of the rationales, like you hit it right on the key, Dan. You said a statement a few minutes ago about knowing what you want. And I think that's the biggest problem with newer people or noobs in the hobby, is that they haven't really defined what they want. And they kind of just go around in the hobby erratic and spontaneously. Like there's no goals, there's no set path. Imagine you have a limited amount of money to build a home, for instance, and you don't even have drawings and plans. You don't have everything mapped out, materials and expenditures, and you're just going about trying to build this home on limited funds. And that's how people approach this hobby, because we got to be realistic here. When I first got into the hobby back in 2014 or whatever, things are expensive, and nowadays things are even more expensive. So the way I've always looked at it is for one, I always defined early what I wanted and how I wanted to collect in this hobby. I did that within my first 6 to 8 months in a hobby, and I determined that I wanted to be a horror collector. Now, that I'm not going to get into the reasons for that for this video. That's another podcast, but that's what I wanted to do. And my thing is if you're going to spend a lot of money, and this is another part of the argument, if you're going to spend a lot of money, let's say $1,500, $1,000, even $700, whatever, hundreds of dollars on figures, at least you better damn well care about the art. Because if art is not important to you and it's just about the character and the nostalgia, or you just seeing the movie or whatever, then you could always just go mass produce, or you don't have to spend the serious money going from a mainstream artist.
Well, to add that real quick,
yeah,
you know, when people say, you know, I like this artist's take on it, or like this artist's perspective, that is the art perspective, because it's their artwork that you're seeing through their eyes being put to life. So that is essentially the art as well. So people that sometimes say, oh, I've never heard anybody really say I don't collect for the art, but they say for their perspective, the aesthetic style of it, that's the art. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And again, I think I challenge the listeners and everyone out there to essentially analyze to themselves what art really is. I mean, art, and this has been one of the biggest debates since the beginning of time. Is art subjective? You know, meaning is it personal preference? Is it literally a person's perception? Or is it objective?
I think it's all of that. I honestly think it's all of that.
Right, and I do too as well. And I actually had a conversation with, shout out to Beta Metalli, about art versus objective versus subjective. And shout out to Joe, aka Sippy Rick, stiffest of them all. We've had conversations about that, and I agree with you, Dan. I think art is both subjective and objective. So going back to the art perspective, what does that mean to me personally, Anomaly? I mean, the way I look at art is, again, like you said, Dan, artist take, artist perspective. That's why I'm not necessarily, I know me and you have talked about this as well, like interpretation or movie accuracy. Like, obviously, I like my figures or anything that I collect of high value to be accurate, but I also want an artist's perspective. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. I know with you personally, you want it to be accurate as well.
I usually strive for the most accurate that I can. You know, not everything, nothing's ever going to be 1,000. It's just impossible in a certain scale. Like, not every line on a mask or not every little crease is ever going to happen. But I usually strive for the best that I can for my eyes. Now, remember, my eyes are my eyes. My perception is my perception. What I think is accurate could be not accurate to the other guy. This could be blue. This could be, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, there's a certain, that's more accurate than this one. But, you know, there gets to a point where you're like, you're nitpicking accuracy. And I know to nitpick a lot, but that's just the style I like, you know. I'm always an overthinker, and like when I do my runs, ask anybody that's on my runs or that works with me, I could be the biggest pain in the ass because everything has to be the best that it can be. With certain people, like when I was doing sculpting, you know, with everything, I've had to redo things maybe 20 times over because I'm like, no, fuck this. I do not like it. It's kind of like I'm my own worst enemy. You get what I'm saying? But in the end, it makes for the best product.
You know what, man? And I respect it. And that's what I love about your take and your perspective and your mentality in this hobby. And we'll talk about that too. You know, what's going on with you in the future and what my perceptions of that are in terms of art and all this other stuff. But no, I totally agree. So again, art perspective to me, you know, it kind of like what you said. You know, artist take, artist interpretation, and then you go into more objective things, which are actually more objective, such as, you know, quality of craftsmanship, tailoring. I mean, obviously, you know, there's differences in quality and stitching and presentation, and then you have the sculpt materials, and then you have, you know, paint, you have herring aspect, you have presentations such as boxes, COAs, and stuff of that nature. So all this stuff is important to me, and I know it is to you, especially if you're spending thousands of dollars. So again, my thing is if you're only specifically, if you're going to spend thousands of dollars, why not have it all? Why not have the art?
Right.
Why not have the love for the character? Or even if you haven't seen the movie, have a familiarity, you have a chance to grab something. Don't let the fact that you haven't seen the movie hold you back. Now, going back to some of these, to the reason why I said sometimes I think people use that as an excuse to because they can't either afford it, unfortunately, which is understandable, or whatever other reason. Usually the reason why I say that, and I said it about this particular person, which I won't put his name out there, really what it comes down to is just the person's lack of flexibility to look at angles. And what I mean by that is, okay, if you're just going to say flat out outright, regardless of what comes out, regardless of what, any artist that comes into this hobby is able to produce at any given time, that you're just set on that, but yet at the same time you're the type of individual.
So you're saying kind of like somebody that's just got a dead set on this guy, like always negative,
yeah,
like
someone that has a
all right,
mm-hmm.
all right, got
I'm
it.
sorry, yeah, someone that has a fixed mentality, but also somebody that doesn't, in my opinion, someone that's willing to take shortcuts too. Like, for instance, what I mean by that is, again, I'm not putting any names out there, but I've seen people out there with sideshow Jasons with Beto Metalli heads on them. I think, personally, that's disgusting. I think that's atrocious because, in reality, it's disrespectful to the artist. It creates false perceptions, and it's confusing, and it just throws things off, in my opinion. But that's just my take. That's not art, in my opinion, in any form, subjective or objective. And I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. But when you have people like that are willing to do things like that, those are even more the type of people that I feel like use that as an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's someone like you or somebody or anyone in this hobby that values true art and respects the artist, meaning that they, if they get a figure, for instance, from Beto Metalli or Once Customs, and not posting it on the internet in groups the next day with flash photos, or posting it for sale, multiple picture threads and sale posts and stuff like that, then those are the type of people I'm more opted to believe that, okay, they legit just, they're not using that as an excuse. That's just truly how they feel and how they are and how they collect. So,
right. And it's you bring up the selling point. Some obviously people know, like, things happen in people's personal lives. They gotta sell, make money. You obviously understand that. But if people that do it constantly, it's a shitty look as well, which is a weird outlook. Like, the only time I've had to sell is obviously for outside reasons. I had my health scare, so I had to sell the collection. Everybody saw the video because it was for my health scare, make sure everything was intact, maybe have a future, have some money aside for my kids, and I did all that. And the first time is I had another situation that was out of my hands, but I had to take care of it. And other than that, I've never sold anything out of my own personal collection that I did not want to sell. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
Always,
no,
like, not.
No, you definitely had legit reasons.
Yeah,
definitely,
and a lot of
legit.
people do sometimes, but there's obviously those people that just buy to flip or buy just to get the. Some people take it as a high. They'll just they'll take it in, they'll take a piece in, then 6 months later, they'll sell it for the next high. Maybe they don't know they're doing this, but it is what it is. I'm not knocking them for it. That's how they collect. All I care about is my own collection and bringing the best things that we can to the hobby. But I wanted to bring this up. Have you ever ran into the situation where people, or say I have ran into this, where say if you're speaking to a certain individual and you're putting up two of the same characters, but these figures are done from two separate artists. One person I've seen just knock the other figure down just because either A, it was not an established artist, or B, just because they followed that artist through and back him up. Not giving the other piece the chance that it needs to breathe, I've ran into that sometimes too, and I find those conversations sometimes kind of daunting. I'm like, I don't even want to have them, you know what I'm saying? And I've had it with multiple peoples, but I feel it like sometimes, you gotta understand where people come from. But have you ever ran into that?
Yeah, in my time in the hobby, I've definitely seen individuals that would shoot other new and upcoming artists down just based on the fact that they haven't established kind of like a name brand or a reputation. Is that what you're referring to? Even though they show
kind of like that, or like just saying if, like, let's say artist A has been in the hobby 10 years, established, amazing artist, and then there's artist B, been in the hobby 10 years, established, amazing artists, but they'll always defend artist A just because that's all they collect is artist A. They don't have the mind.
Yeah, that's what, excuse my language, but that's a bunch of bullshit. And that's when we get into hype, and that's when we get into fixed mindsets. And reality is, and I've seen this in my tenure, it doesn't even matter what that particular artist that you're referring to, that main artist that person will continue to defend. It doesn't matter if that person is releasing trash or gems. You know, that person is always going to defend that person. And yeah, of course, I've seen that in the hobby, and I just can't take people seriously that collect like that when it comes from any aspect, an assessment aspect, from any type of perspective whatsoever, because it's a bias, you know.
Right.
And I've also seen the opposite of that. I've also seen up and new incoming products that rivaled existing, artists, and people will shoot it down because, you know, they just don't want to accept something that's new or something that, you know, challenges what they spent with this other artist. And now this product is either cheaper or maybe even more expensive in some instances, and they just, you know, and I think that's nonsense too. And just to reiterate back quickly, just before I forget, I don't care if someone buys 1,000 figures and sells all 1,000 of them the next day. That's not my take. My take is that the people, I'm talking specifically the people that don't follow the etiquettes of the hobby and the politics. If you want to sell something, if you get a high off that shit, you know, hey, that's you. It's your money. Just go about it the right way. You know, go behind the scenes, talk to people in the hobby that have experience. Exhaust your options before you start posting online or on eBay, especially eBay. eBay is probably one of the worst looks.
Yeah, which eBay is also like recast land, so that's a lot of ways that people grab stuff and possibly do recasts and stuff like that.
Right.
Usually always try, I mean, like you said, exhaust your options when you have no option. Hey, it is what it is. We can't knock you for it. You know, if you can't make the sale and you need the money, or if you're in a pinch and you need it quick, make a quick sale, post a mass publicly, I understand. You usually, you know, the people that always sell are the people that don't always sell, you know. You can tell.
Right. And going back to you, like I said, Dan, like you had legit reasons, and it's not even our place to define necessarily legit or not legit. But what I do know is that you handle your business very professionally when you did have to sell, and you sold a lot in a relatively short period of time. As a matter of fact, the quickest amount of time that I've ever seen in proportion to the amount of income that was generated was just fucking unheard of. But
well, I'll say this. I remember, if I didn't make a video on it, nobody really would have known that I was selling stuff because I went all behind the scenes. I posted twice publicly when everything else that was, you know, essentially didn't sell, because I usually like to give friends the first hookup, and to people that I know that will enjoy the pieces, because, you know, I have a long list of people, and I usually know who will appreciate the art. I don't want these pieces to go to nobody. Like, I have a friend who always asks me first if I want a piece, because he knows he wants the pieces to go to me because he knows I'll appreciate it. I want what I love to go, because it's kind of like a baby, you know. I want it to go to the next guy. Obviously, I'm not going to get rid of my baby, but it's a very thing that's close to you, and you fell in love with it, and it's hard to give up, so you want it to go to somebody that's going to appreciate it, take care of it, you know. That's usually why I do what I do. I usually like, obviously, with friends, and I'm sure a lot of people do that. And, you know, I will say this, though. Speaking on, like, artistic style, like, some mass-produced companies have really brought some heat lately that I look as art as well, you know? I really do.
Oh, absolutely. What companies in particular? Are you referring to, like, Hot Toys?
Hard Toys. I mean, I can't really say in Art Queen Studios right now because they've shown pictures, they haven't given a product yet, but that looks very artistic to me. It's a very, I feel like a custom take, magnetic stands, like, it's very high taste, very high quality. And don't get me wrong, I'm not this guy that's like, oh, I collect $50 NECA pieces, I collect Funko Pops, I statues, I want 6 customs. Dude, I love everything. Everything.
Right. Same here, man. Same here. As a matter of fact, I've developed pretty much a new passion, specifically for Hot Toys. I've been out of the Hot Toys game for quite some time. I started collecting Hot Toys at a very, very small level when I first got into the hobby. Meaning, when I mean small level, I mean like 5-6 figures. Then I just pretty much went straight customs. But then recently, shout out to my boys, Stress Labs, Paul Manzi, and even you yourself, and just in general, just seeing all these new product lines. There's just certain things that you have to go mass produce with. And like you said, Dad, I agree with you. There's art can be found in everything, whether it's a mass produced piece. Because at the end of the day, the process for a mass produced piece goes through the same exact process as a custom figure.
Well, that's the thing, as you know, like I'll get a mass produced piece, and some people might say shit, but I look at it, I'm like, oh, I see potential. I know I can make this better. So I have also that added layer, like I did with the Hot Toys Berserk Predator. I'm like, ooh, okay. I see how, like, I see a great base, and then you can make it to an even higher quality, stuff like that.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, the way I've always looked at it is, why not have it all? There's certain, like for instance, I just got and I've heard about this character for a long time, and the reputation of this particular piece is definitely well deserved. For instance, like the '89 Joker from Hot Toys.
Yes, great
as
piece. As
people know, they just Mars Toys just released their version, which was pretty decent. It was pretty good. It's not Hot Toys for sure. We got to be realistic there, but it's a pretty good offering for the price point. But this figure, literally to me, looks like a custom figure, and even the tailoring. And this is an older piece. It looks like a custom outfit completely. The quality of it is that good. And I don't know what tip they were on, Hot Toys, and they were making that piece, because I have a newer Joker from the Dark Knight movies, and that clothing looks atrocious in comparison.
The original one of the Heath Ledger, right? Not the...
No, the Heath Ledger.
No. The new... There was 2 Heath Ledger Hot Toys. There was
the DxO, the original, the older one.
With the darker suit compared, because I got your other one, the other Hot Toys one.
Exactly. Yeah, the clothing on the original one is atrocious, and the one that I sold to you, the clothing is better. Right. Definitely better. But that's a newer piece, so I'm like scratching my head, like, how did that happen? But it's just certain things that, these statues and this is the reality, Dan. There's 2 facts here. 2 specific facts that I want to point out. This is the cold hard reality. And we all fell victim to this, especially if you've been in the hobby for more than 5 years. The main reason why mass-produced has always been knocked on in the custom world is, in my opinion, because of elitism and preservation of values. It's as simple as that.
I have to agree with you 100%. I was actually going to bring that up, because when people first get in the hobby, sometimes they either they get mentored or they fall into this hype train that's like told them, because when you come into a custom hobby, you kind of need a little bit of guidance from people, but sometimes you get it from the wrong people, and then they're going to be like, no, it's just shit because it's mass produced, or it's just shit because it's this, or it's just shit because it's this artist. No, you have to buy from this artist. This artist, no matter how old this artist is still going to be the best artist. Like, it's kind of like, guy, enough. I understand you got to preserve your prices, the hype, and all this. But at a certain point, if that artist is amazing, it's always going to be amazing. Why do you got to compare it to the mass-produced? Everything can be beautiful in a sense. You know what it is? People, it's just, that's a very old-school mentality. And I'm glad that, we're kind of breaking the mold. And I love that I have what I have, and I'm sure people love what they have. That are able to enjoy everything, because then you're keeping yourself from the joy of everything else. I look at it as, why not enjoy it all?
I agree, and it's just a crazy mentality. And I'm going to go with the second reason, which is escaping me, preservation. What was the second reason?
The money. Essentially keeping the prices where they are of certain artists and stuff like that.
Oh no! The reality is this. The second fact that I wanted to mention. The reality is. Bottom line is that the custom, not only the custom world, but the mass-produced world, in terms of 1/6, 1/3, whatever it is, statues, figures, whatever, everything is becoming more advanced now. You got mass-produced shit that's coming out now that is legit blows away custom shit that was out just 5 years ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? From top artists, you know? So that's just the evolution of technology, you know, 3D printing. There's more talent coming into the hobby. Not necessarily in the custom hobby because, you know, we all know, like, you know, the clothing runs and, you know, the limited availability of tailoring is really hurting the custom world. Not necessarily in the horror sector right now, but I think that's, would you say that's one of the biggest factors affecting the customer right now, Dan?
Well, tailors are always hard to find, as well as, you know, like hairstylists, but tailoring is probably the hardest thing, and usually they're backed up because they're either doing something that's already been done and mass-produced that they want at a higher level, or they're just backed up, or they're just being hired by mass-produced companies contracted out. Same with painters and stuff like that. I mean, that's the thing. Like, and that doesn't mean, like, the custom world's going to die. It's not going to die. What we stated is pieces from 5 years ago, which naturally will get outdated, are being outdone by newer technology.
Right.
We can, right. I mean, I hate to say we in this. The custom world can obviously keep up because I've seen amazing life. Like I don't see anybody replicating one's custom's life like Factor mass produce. You know what I'm saying? I don't see anybody replicating Beto's Metali's eye for super accuracy, detail, stuff like that, you know, or that super beautiful custom collectible presentation, stuff like that. So it still, there's a beauty in everything.
Think about it like this too. I mean, to cut you off, but just so I can don't lose the spot. You're right. Like, mass-produced, there's certain elements that you're just not going to see in mass-produced world. You're not going to see a Part 8 Jason, Part 7 Jason, Hobo Jason done to justice in mass-produced. However, you're not going to see in the custom world, in my opinion, a Batman or a Joker or a RoboCop or Ed 209 or a Predator or something of that.
Well, nature. you do see you do see a lot of them doing like the new Batman, stuff like that, Dark Knight. But a lot of them use the Hot Toys to customize and turn them into customs to make them even better. So they use Hot Toys as a base or mass produce.
Right. I'm talking strictly 100% custom, using nothing as a foundation. It ain't happening. At least I haven't seen it yet. And
I do gotta say, superhero suits are one of the hardest things to make, man. I gotta tell you that.
Exactly. And Hot Toys does it the best. So why even try to compete with that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
imagine tailoring like a Darth Vader or a Superman suit. It's tough. It's tough with all those intricate patterns. Oh my god.
Right. So it's a proprietary thing at the end of the day that Hot Toys. So just examples why it's sometimes necessary. Like, I love RoboCop. I just don't see a custom artist doing a RoboCop.
I think it's not because they don't want to do it. It's because they usually tell themselves, well, Hot Toys did it so good. What's the point of doing it if it's already good and it's for a great price point? Because if somebody did a custom RoboCop, sure, they could make it fully die cast, like obviously the RoboCop is, but like fully die cast every little piece with real bullets and all this and take 10 years to make it. But at the end of the day, you're going to charge, what, $4,000 where somebody can get something that's damn near the freaking ballpark. You know what I'm saying?
Hot Toys just knocked that shit out of the fucking park. Man.
Right.
But I get your point, and totally. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, anything can be done custom if you really put your heart and your mind to it. But at the same time, like, if something's already done at a very high level, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, come on, you know, you just got to ask yourself, like, do you really? And that's another thing in the hobby too, that it makes it difficult for people to disconnect from just customs and venturing to other areas. Is for whatever reason, they just feel like if they're not spending thousands of dollars on something, that it's not good.
Right.
Which, I won't lie, I fell into that in the first 2 or 3 years of my collecting because of my influences that I had around me and stuff. But I'm glad that I smarted up, man, because collecting is not just about economics and investing and preservation of money and values. Fuck all that. Collecting for me is about, as I know it is for you, you can tell me if you agree, number one is nostalgia, the character, and then art, number three, but they're all important.
Right.
But I won't buy something, just on the premise, it's just, an investment piece. I'm talking about like if I'm going to display this and collect it,
Right, because, we're not going to go out there and say, let's go collect Furbies, because we don't have a nostalgia to that. We do have a nostalgia to horror in general. Now, once we're in that horror realm and we already are in the realm that we want to be in, then there are the opportunities where you can collect for the art perspective, because at least it's in the realm of what you want to collect. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly, and just try not to limit ourselves. So I'm very thankful that I smartened up over the last.
Well, you're being very humble. The fact that you said that you actually experienced that firsthand, and then you have to say you kind of have to, be woke and be like, okay, I've made mistakes. You're being humble, which is very respectful. I've fallen into it, so this is why your word means a lot, because you've done it, or you've been taught to do that.
Oh man, it was like being baptized, like coming out of that water again. I was like, what?
It was like getting Will Smith slapped at the Oscars. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, I got slapped, and I was like, holy shit! Like, look at all this cool shit I've been missing out on, and then I just started going fucking crazy.
And you know what sucks? That's what happens sometimes when you listen to the people that are completely wrong and have hidden agendas. At the end of the day, you got to play catch up with all the pieces you missed and pay double on the aftermarket when you could have gotten them from retail right off the rip. That's what sucks.
Oh yeah, I'm experiencing that right now. So many pieces that I wanted to get back in the day, but I was just on that custom tip, and now I had pay a little premium. Some things I got for a discount, but ultimately, man, going back to like the selling thing. I mean, I can proudly say in this hobby, I'm fortunate. I make good money. I'm a healthcare worker and soon to be a provider. Shout out to Chris Parmesan Cheese. I've been very fortunate where I've never had to really sell anything due to financial reasons. But and I have a reputation for pretty much not selling. And my collection obviously has gone through transitions, because obviously when you're in the hobby for years and years and years, you get more refined, you learn the game more, and you start to develop a more critical eye, and things that you brought in the past may not necessarily be in alignment with your collecting style. So obviously I've sold and transitioned for that, but my collection right now is at a good point, and I don't think I've sold anything honestly in almost like 2 years.
That's
and
good.
Anything I have sold prior then was like something I got secondhand or something as part of a trade deal, and I was like, I'll just hold on to this and get rid of it. But that's just me, and I'm not knocking again anyone that has to sell. It's just I'm in this hobby to collect, and then that's that. And for me, it's all about preserving history as well. Some of these pieces that I have in my collection, as I'm sure again, Dan, that you can relate to, some of these pieces really bring me back to the early part of the hobby. And
right, the nostalgia.
Yeah, it's nostalgia, and it's just a piece of history.
There is a nostalgia in the hobby as well. There's a nostalgia part of the hobby.
Right. And it's just it'd be very difficult for me to get rid of certain pieces, like my Once Customs Slim. That's like literally in 1/6 history, and it's someone once earliest work.
And it won at 2013 Famicom. It holds a certain place where it won a convention or a certain part of a convention,
Right, and it was held by really what I would view as a really OG collector, aka Magnus. Shout out.
Yeah, Magnus.
And it was a symbol, and then some of the stuff that I got that was made from ones that went to Joe, that Joe passed on to me, is very special to me. And even the Dark Man that I got from you, that's some of Beto's early work, and it's a good catalog piece to have if you're really into the artist and you want things of history. So to me, stuff like that is very, very, very important. So again, I know that pretty much I'm speaking for you as well, but yeah, that's how I look at it, man.
It is, like I said, like, how we talked about certain pieces being outdated and, not always like people want to preserve the hype or preserve like money investment values. But I do got to say, it is important to preserve history as well. So just because a piece is outdated does not mean I won't collect it as well on top of it. So there's rights to both sides of stories, and then there's a lot of wrongs. So I definitely think collecting what you love. So say like an old school piece, like I'll even throw it out there, like Rayman. There's some pieces that are outdated by Rayman, but it's still really good quality because of what it was at the time, how it was made, the collectability standard. Lee's not in the hobby anymore, and he was one of the first artists to do it really at a high passion level and work. So I will still collect a Rayman piece, but it has to be a nostalgic character piece for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, totally, and I respect that because again, like we said earlier, art comes in many different forms, and we collect all for different reasons, and it's truly unique to each collector. Rayman definitely set a foundation for how to do things right in the hobby. You know, everything was always just precise with him in terms of his he was one of the artists that got the runs out the quickest. You know, kept his
he usually did like 2 runs a year, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm not an expert on Rayman, but yeah, from my understanding, in the beginning he did 2, maybe even 3, and then it became less and less. But
Beto was doing stuff in a good way after he stopped doing the head and clothing runs. When he stepped into doing actual things, so he actually did like the figures. Like you could tell they were all very high quality, pristine, and all that. And then he started going into the boxes after a little bit when he didn't offer that with the figures. He started doing that, and that was also an added layer. So that's the stuff that you really love, and K. June's doing that. Oh yeah, Beto to me is still one of the pioneers in the hobby, man. One of the biggest.
Oh, he absolutely is. I mean, let's be honest. He's the top artist in the game. When from an overall perspective,
yeah, dude,
he's the top artist in the horror game.
Yeah, dude's champ in my opinion.
He's a champ.
Plus, he's I talk to him daily. The dude's always very. Yeah, I have a very close relationship with him and a good bond, and he's just a really good dude. He is a good dude. He actually cares about the product, and the amount of. I look at him as an inspiration because the amount of work that he does to just look up the details and stuff for the runs is how I go about things. Like looking at back magazines from like the 60s. Like when I talked to him about the Frankenstein run, we did an interview, and obviously I talked to him more, like 3 hours more after that. We were going up until 3 a.m. talking how things were made in movies that we loved, specifically old ones. And he was telling me he would look up old school magazines on how the Frankenstein, when it was first released, or newspaper clippings or stuff like that, anything he could to get details, like old school photographs, like that you would have to buy in a specific book. I'm just like, yeah, man, that's what it's all about. That's an added layer. When somebody has that much thought and care into the product that you're spending your hard-earned money on, that's when I'm happy to wait for the product.
Man, that was beautifully said and very well stated, and I can't even add to that. I mean, me and Beto in the past, have had our differences, and we still talk, and we're still close as well. But I told Beto even just recently, within the last couple of weeks, that ultimately I developed a newfound respect for him because he legitimately is trying to improve himself, and he's not staying stagnant.
Always.
And unfortunately, always. In terms of him taking more risks with the characters that he's doing, in terms of presentation, in terms of his pricing, which I think right now Beto offers the best value in the hobby right now.
He does. He does.
Hands out. And on top of that, the highest quality in presentation and collectability, which he hits all the check marks, and again, he's trying constantly to improve himself. So, I've learned to kind of just let the man do his magic.
Yep, you just gotta have faith. That's right.
Yeah, just have faith, and there's some things that I disagree with in the past, but we talked about those things, and I understand why some of those things need to happen. In terms of, I'm not going to get into the details of that, but, Beto knows what I'm referring to, especially given what's going on in the world right now and, economics. Because the thing what people don't understand, which I have learned a newfound respect for, is that these artists, especially like Beta Metalli, Ones, and at one time, I don't think Rayman ever worked solely just in 1/6, but some of these artists, that's all they do. This is how they feed their families. You know what I'm saying? Right. So before we judge them on certain things that they may do that we don't like because we're so obsessed with our values and how much money we're spending and all this stuff, we got to understand these people got to eat at the end of the day. So do you prefer to not have these artists do certain things that you don't like that interfere with your perceptions of how things should be done, even though you're not in their shoes? Or do you prefer not to make figures at all?
Right.
And that's what I had to think about in conjunction with some of the other behavior and business practices of some of the other artists in this hobby that I'm not going to name any names, that I find discouraging and just flat out heartbreaking given the amount of time they've been in the hobby. I'm just like, whatever. I'm just, Beto is a great artist. I respect him. I love his work. And I love him because he makes things that bring me back to my past.
Yeah, man. And I just got the Freddy 1. It's supposed to be coming tomorrow, the new run, so I can't wait to do a review on that. Yeah. Fire. I mean, and
that, son?
I can't wait for that piece. I don't know. And, with me doing the runs, that's the exact same quality that I want to bring out. Quality, amazing price points, and just get everything to the super accurate. Just, that's what I want to bring to this hobby. Just absolutely take care of it. Kind of bring it back a little bit to reality with these super high price points. Like, Jesus Christ, $4,000 for a run, or like $5,000. That's at a certain point. I'm gonna just say it. Enough is fucking enough, man. Jesus, come on.
Well, one thing
anybody can eat off of a $2,000, $1,500 figure at a certain point. Jesus.
Right. Yeah. Price control is definitely needed, and that's one thing that I'm glad you brought up. Really about your company and what you're doing for this hobby. And I think a good thing is that you're taking the opportunities that you've had as a collector first and foremost, and observing mistakes and certain things that have been done in the hobby throughout the hobby, and getting references and talking to OGs and just through your own perceptions on how to do things and what the faults are, how areas can be improved in certain sectors, in terms of pricing, in terms of deadlines, in terms of even certain characters that still haven't been touched yet, and doing, and also bringing the layer of innovation. So you have those advantages, and you're taking advantage of them, and that's why I'm super excited about your product. And everyone, if you don't know who I am, you can check out my YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure Dan will have information on that.
I'll have the link in the description below.
Appreciate that. I collect horror. And, and I'm going to just say it how it is, guys. I don't collect trash. I only collect what I perceive as top quality because I spend top dollars. And so when I say that, I'm very excited about the products that I'm seeing from Dan and his company. Well, how do you pronounce it? Is it
I don't even want to say it right now because it's not yet announced, but it's going to be announced with the prototype that people are going to see very soon.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So you can edit that out, but so I'm just excited. I can't wait for the announcements, and I like all the teasers that I've been seeing so far.
That's the thing. We do everything custom. Nothing is taken from like third party people. It's seriously custom clothing, custom boots, real laces, custom like I showed chainsaws. I go the extra mile. I try to make everything magnetic, full, everything. I don't want to get too much into it, but we're really trying to, like, presentation, let's just say, it's going to have it all. COAs, prints, like, I don't want to say too much, but we're trying to give it for the price point that you're going to look at it and be like, with everything it comes with, you're just like, wow,
Right. So, again, I've been privileged to see some things that the public hasn't been privy to yet, and I can tell you guys, you're going to be excited, and again, I want to be endorsing this stuff, and I'm going to be collecting a lot of this shit, a lot of this stuff. So, yeah, guys, keep your eyes out on the look, and these runs will sell out quick. So just keep your eyes out. Guys,
I was happy to see the amount of the reception that we got when we made the IG post of the interest list, and we just gave a little teaser, but a lot of people showed some love, and even privately. So we actually beat the numbers we thought we were gonna have. So now we're like, yeah, let's do this and let's do it right, and we got to match quality for every piece, which we will do, and just very.
Right.
I feel privileged, and also I feel like it's a duty to make sure to help preserve the hobby and make it manageable for everybody.
It sure is. It sure is. Just like I told you, man. I know this shit sounds corny and it sounds funny, but with great power comes great responsibility. You and your company and your crew, you guys have talent, and to preserve the hobby, it comes with great responsibility. And I like the direction that you guys are going. So, hard collecting for me. I've been collecting since 1998. Started off with 7-inch. The hell's that guy's name? McFarlane toys or whatever.
Yeah, Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for a long time, guys. It doesn't matter if it was 1/6, 1/3. Point is I've been collecting, and the passion is stronger today than it ever has been. I don't see myself fading in this hobby. Never, honestly. What about you, Dan? How do you view your collecting, and how do you view your status in this hobby?
Put it this way. Remember, I was in a very dark place before this hobby, and you know that. I feel this hobby has saved my life, and you can see how deep and entwined I am with it at this point, that it would be like tearing out a part of my soul at this point. I cannot do it.
Wow, that's deep, man.
I mean, it is what it is, man. You remember, I was in a real bad place, and finding a YouTube channel definitely helped and saved the life, so there you go.
Oh my God, that's just. I mean, man, that's just crazy, and yeah, that's another reason why too. People, I try to tell people too. Like I do the YouTube, not only because when I first got into the hobby, I just saw a lack of good videos showing, explaining what these things are. You know what I'm saying? But I also do it for myself as well, guys, for archiving purposes. I want to have a bibliography or some type of I guess portfolio of the past with these things, it's just something really, really cool to look at and to see. So, yeah, man. So, but yeah, that's basically how I look at. We talked about a variety of things. Again, to reiterate or to summarize overall, again, I collect for the art. I collect for nostalgia. And I also collect for the character. I don't collect for just any individual thing. I collect for everything. And I think collecting for everything for me just puts me in a position to be the most balanced and to have a collection that truly is representative of things that are important to me. And at the end of the day, it will vary from person to person, just like with me and Dan, there's certain pieces that he looks at a certain way, that I look at a certain way, and, it's really no such thing as something's the best or better. It's really just what you like at the end of the day. So that's just my final word. And, just respect the hobby. If you have any questions, just, don't be afraid to ask people. Learn the politics, learn the etiquettes, and, you'll be fine.
Yep. Well, man, thank you for joining on another episode, and thank you for being such a good guest and keeping a good conversation as all my other guests do. So very exciting, and can't wait to have you back for another episode because I know it's going to happen. And shout out to Anomaley682. Check out his YouTube channel, which is called Anomaley682. Link in the description. He's got some great reviews of custom figures, as well as he will do some mass-produced stuff, I know for a fact. So definitely exciting, and thanks again, Rob, and I'm going to log out, so thanks again.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Peace.